strategy part.
Morning.
So here, two sorts of oceans are defined in the strategies, the red ocean and the blue ocean. Now, what do we mean by this red ocean and the blue ocean? It signifies the markets in which the businesses are operating. The meaning of oceans is the businesses which are operating in the market. Now, here, red ocean represents all the industries in existence today. So here, if you take or if you consider a particular industry, for example, steel industry or milk manufacturing and processing industry. Okay, so these are the industries which exist. This is known as the market space. Now, the blue oceans denotes the industries which are not existent today. They are not known in the market space. Now, these they try to create new market space. Like today, we have the digital platforms which were non-existent previously. So here, maybe due to situational factors or maybe as a part of differentiation strategy or a new way of opting for a model to run a business, the companies thought of involving the IT platforms in digital business. So here the pioneer came up with the strategy and created a blue ocean. So that's why the traditional, the routine businesses or the industries which are existence, they are the red oceans. And those which are not known, which have their own unique identity, the markets, they are the blue oceans. They are known as the blue oceans. The strategy implemented by these organizations is blue ocean strategy. Now in red ocean, the industrial boundaries are defined, they are accepted, and the competitive rules of the game are known to all of the players. That is, those companies, those who are operating the businesses in the competitive market, the players in the market, the companies in the market, they are aware about the rules of it. The companies they here they operate, they try to create or grab the market share in the existing market. Now here, because of the cutthroat competition, the companies have to sustain in this competition, and hence maybe some of them they opt for a cost differentiation strategy, some of them they go for the low cost strategy. So in this red ocean, the companies think of opting of some or the other strategy so that they can sustain in this competitive environment, as well as they think of grabbing the share of customers, competitors market share. As more companies enter the competition, as the competition increases, it starts impacting the profits and the growth of the existing players in the market. Certainly, when market share gets distributed, the other partner also comes and starts grabbing the market share. The demand remains the same, but on the supply side, the supply increases. With the more competition, do the customers increase? No, they don't increase. And hence, the market starts becoming saturated. more of the suppliers are there in the market as compared to the demand from the customers. Hence, the companies are forced, or maybe voluntarily, the companies think of opting for new options or different options here. Now, the blue oceans, they are, and hence they move towards the blue oceans. The blue oceans are defined by untapped market space. The markets which are not tapped, they enter into this area, this zone, and try to create the demand. Here, as the opportunity is tremendous, or more opportunities seems to be existence, it promises to be highly profitable, as well as for the players it is an option or an avenue available to excel or to grow. Here, as there are no competitors, though irrespective of the competition, that is, the competition is irrelevant here in this scenario, as there are no rules of the game set. Now here the companies are more focused on their internal core competencies, maybe a technology driven company, maybe with reference to pricing or reaching through innovative distribution channels, or innovative uh, supply chain logistics part. Any of the combination of these are inculcated in the business so that the companies opt for the blue ocean strategy and create space for themselves in the market. Now, whether you have understood what is blue ocean strategy and what is red ocean strategy, yes or no? Yes. Those who are a part of the red ocean strategy, okay, they seek to come out of this competition. As competition goes on increasing, it does not serve the purpose of the company, and hence the companies think of moving ahead with some of the strategies where they think of having their own unique space where there will be no competition at all. So the companies, by inculcating maybe the value or the innovation amongst themselves, move from red ocean strategy to blue ocean strategy. Now here, value innovation is very important part. Now maybe this point is on the second slide of value innovation. It is the cornerstone of the blue ocean strategy. Now here, the companies, instead of trying to focus on competition, they think of creating value for the buyers by strengthening their own core competencies, maybe with respect to price, maybe with respect to technology, or any other part. They bank upon a single strength where there is no player left out, or there is no player at all. They have the unique identity with reference to that market. Now, when one thinks of value, it's without innovation. It tends to focus on value creation on an incremental scale. That is something that improves value, but it is not enough to make the companies stand out in the marketplace, to set themselves apart from the others. And when one considers innovation without value, it tends to be technology driven, or maybe market pioneer, or futuristic option or a view. So here, when one thinks about innovation, if there is no value, there is innovation, then it is a technology driven product, and the company banks upon this technology, not only a technology driven product, but technology is the foundation or the basis upon which the company banks. Now, technology is not the only way to survive, or one cannot say that technology would survive for a longer time, because if some competitor takes over and comes up with a new technology, then again there is a problem. So here, a match between the value and the innovation plays a very vital role. Now, value and innovation, it occurs only when the companies align innovation in terms of utility, or the price which is attached with the product, or the cost positions. So, value innovation is a new way of thinking about and executing strategy that results in the creation of blue ocean and defines itself by keeping the competitors away from them. And hence, the value innovation is created here. Now, the value innovation is created in the region where a company's actions favorably affect both its cost structure and its value proposition to the buyers. So here, when the company thinks of value proposition, it should not be like for the sake of introducing actuality. The company should be able to offer the value. Now, cost savings are made by eliminating and reducing the factors and industry competes upon, by raising and creating elements the industry which that has never offered. Over the times, the costs are reduced as the companies gain the economies of scale. As the volumes rise, the demand increases. More and more people starts buying the offerings, which results in the higher sales volume, by which the scales of economy they increase, and it affects the cost. The cost gets reduced. Now, the creation of blue ocean is about, it's about the driving costs coming down, which also includes the driving up of values for the customers or the buyers. Now here, how does this buyer value come? The buyer value comes from its utility and price that a company offers to the buyer. So here, it's a combination of price also, and it should also offer some utility value to the customers also. That is what uh, is required here. Both of the things, it should match. The creation of Blue ocean necessarily should include the utility, because if the people or the masses do not correlate, or if it is hard for them to correlate the utility and price, then uh, the companies would not, or the companies will not sustain in the longer frame. Now, the value innovation is achieved only when the system of companies' utility, price, and cost activities are properly aligned. Now, to sustain value innovation, the people working for and with the company, they need to support it. Now, it is the whole systems approach that makes value innovation strategic. So, it's rather than considering it as a operational or at a functional level, it's perceived more as a whole of the systems approach or an integrated approach. Now, innovations like production with reference to production, which can be achieved at a sub-system level. So we can say it happens at the functional level, where the whole of the company strategy is not affected. Now, if you take an innovation in the production processes also, make lower a company's cost structure to reinforce its existing cost leadership strategy without changing the utility proposition of its products. So many a times for the companies, the innovations help them to uplift the position of the company from the red ocean to the blue ocean. Now, value innovation is a very unique concept or a distinct concept. Here, all the activities of the company are taken into account when the company thinks of value innovation. Now, especially when we think of service industry, companies do bank upon the value innovation part, maybe with reference to air travel or maybe for the restaurant business. Many of the companies, they do pride services, they do pride upon their time zone or maybe on the people part as far as the services are considered. Now, coming to the first slide, that is the differentiation between blue ocean strategy and the red ocean strategy. Now, when one takes into account the blue ocean strategy, it creates a uncontested market space, because here the choice or competition or competing in the market is not the motive for the businesses to sustain in the long term run. Here, the companies have taken themselves aloof and created their own unique identity, as they don't want to be a part of the competitors or competition, and hence we say it's a, they create a uncontested market space. They have something own, unique to offer to the customers, where there are no competitors at all. While when it comes to red ocean strategy, it competes in the existing market space, where if the companies do not think of defending themselves, the companies, they lose the market share to the competitors. So here there are competitors and there is competition in the red ocean strategy, while in the blue ocean strategy, uh, there are no competitors to the company. It is an uncontested market space. Now, as there is competition in the red ocean strategy, the option is to beat the competition, or one can say the companies think of coming up with some innovative strategy, one or the other strategy to beat the competitors. Maybe they undertake any differentiation strategy, they focus on the cost leadership strategy. Now, when I say it's a differentiation, the differentiation may be with reference to services, maybe with reference to innovative product launching, maybe with reference to reaching the customers through a new distribution channel, anything out of the options available, the company thinks of coming up with some strategy where uh, it thinks of beating the competition and moving ahead or penetrating into the market through market share, through grabbing the market share. While here, in terms of blue ocean strategy, as there are no competitors, the company can focus only on their core strengths. It can think of um, focusing on much more on R&D or improving the policies, the strategies, or the product itself. Or one can think of having more addition of value in their product. Now, in red ocean strategy, they exploit the existing demand. And in terms of as in blue ocean strategy, the companies focus on the customer and offering better products with the help of value driven systems, by inculcating value driven systems, or uh, offering innovative products, any of this, the companies think of creating and capturing new demand. While that is not the case in red ocean strategy, because each and every company has their own market share and hence they exploit the existing demand. Now, coming to the next point, in terms of blue ocean strategy, they break the value cost trade off. Now, here, as there are no competitors, the company cannot think or does not think of value and the cost part. There is no trade off when the company thinks of having something unique, something value added to offer to the customers or innovative to offer to the customers, where the company does not think about the cost factor here. But that's not the case in red ocean strategy, because there are already the products available with the competitors, the same, which are working on the same formula or same grounds. So here, the companies have to think about the value cost trade-offs. Now, in terms of blue ocean strategy, here it aligns the whole system of a firm's activities in the pursuit of differentiation on low cost. Now, here when the company thinks of having some differentiation strategy or offering the low cost, it does not take the competitor strategy into account. When the companies it thinks about offering any product, the company thinks of value emphasis to be passed on to the customers. While in terms of red ocean strategy, it's a strategic choice. Now, when we say that it is a strategic decision or a strategic choice, when there are competitors and decisions are made by keeping the competitors as a reference point. As in blue ocean strategy, there are no competitors. There is no question of coming up with the strategic decision making or strategic choice for the organization. Now, whatever decisions they undertake or whatever decisions are made by the companies, they are from the point of view of enhancing the quality of the output of the company, maybe in terms of product, maybe in terms of the services offered to the end customers. So, any doubts as far as this differentiation is considered here? Here, the competition-based red ocean strategy assumes that an industry's conditions are given and that firms are forced to compete with them within them. Now, while the other view is value innovation, which is based on the view that market boundaries and industry structure are not given and they can be restructured by actions and beliefs of the industry players or the companies which operate with reference to that particular industry. Now, in red ocean, the differentiation raises costs because firms compete with the same best practice rule. Here, the companies come up with the strategic choices, maybe the difference on the basis of differentiation or the low cost or a combination of both of this, where the strategic aim is to create the best rule by taking both the aspect of cost and value trade-off into account. Now, there are the 8 principles of blue ocean strategy. If we have a glance at this strategies, I mean principles, the first one is the reconstruct market boundaries. Reconstruct market boundaries is with reference to search risk. The companies they think from the view of restructuring the boundaries. They try to take the rivals within the industry into account, the competitive position. Now here, there may be many competitors, but with reference to those competitors, where the company stands in the present case or the present scenario, they focus better on serving the buyers group. Now here, the blue ocean strategies, the companies, it looks across alternative industries. It looks across strategic group within the same industries. It redefines the industry buyer group. It thinks of maximizing the value of the product or the service offerings and tries to adapt to the external trends as they move from one phase to the other. It looks across to the complementary products and service offerings. It helps in trending the shapes of the business. Now, when the companies have the principle of focus on the big pictures and not the numbers, it means thinking about the planning, the risks which are involved in this business. When the company thinks of segregating itself or placing them aloof from the competitors, it should have something unique to offer or it should have something value driven to offer to the customers. Otherwise, it will not sustain. Many times the companies come up with some new theme or new product where the hype is much more than expected, and the outcome is that it does not result as expected initially. That means there is no mapping between the projected trend and the actual trend, between the projected demand and the actual demand, or as expected from the customers. This is what is focused on big pictures and not just the numbers. One should not think of having a very gloomy picture. It should be based on the realistic facts of the industry. Now, when the companies think of reaching beyond the existing demand, that is, they are rising up the scales. When the company thinks of having some substitutes from the ongoing products in the market. Okay, so here actually whether the people will like it or not, whether there would be demand for the substitutes or not, that has to be taken into account. Now get the strategic sequence right. It is with reference to the business models. When the companies think of shifting the business models, basically, here it involves the business model risk. Trying to set up or inculcate new business model includes a lot of challenges. Also, there are many roadblocks which are not known to the organization. Maybe down the line when they are implemented or acted upon, the companies understand what are the loopholes, and hence the strategic sequence should be right. So whenever the company thinks of opting for a new business model, a foolproof system should has to be ensured here. Overcome the organizational hurdles. So when the company thinks of having the execution part, planning is one thing and executing is the other thing. So here, when the companies think of executing, then maybe whatever are the projected trends or planned sequences, when actually the policies or the actions are implemented, they may not match or map with the circumstances and the situations. Or there is also a gap of time tenure between what was the planning or what was planned and what are the results or the outcomes. So here, these organizational hurdles have to be looked upon, or the different aspects of key organizational hurdles have to be introspected before entering into the implementation part. Suppose the company comes up with the new technology, whether the people are ready to embrace the technology has to be looked upon. Otherwise, the people have to be trained. The new, if the company comes up with the new policies, it has to make some provision for accommodation of the policies and rules in the organization. Now, here there are also the internal factors and the external factors which affect the performance of the organization. The company has to think upon building up the execution strategy. So here, framing of strategy is one thing and execution is different thing. in executing the things do not fall in place. Proper provision should be made to accommodate the changes, or there should be alternative options available. Alternative strategies should be made available. So this involves the management risk. Now, when one thinks of having the value is attached to the people. So many a times uh, there is a trade-off between the people value and the profit proposition of the companies. The more the people are trained to emphasize on value aspects, the more is the gain in terms of brand image or uplift of organization, which ultimately, of course, uplift the profits of the organization. Now, next is the renew the blue oceans. Renew the blue oceans is every now and then one has to be on toes to assess the current scene and what next future would be. How better the companies move ahead with the strategies by taking into account the futuristic view of the industry. Those companies which are operating in terms of present scenario and also think about the futuristic view, they always plan on new product development. The emphasis is more on research and development. What is new which could be added to the existing organizational efficiencies? That is what is thought of. Now, coming to the strategic canvas. A strategic canvas is both a diagnostic and an action framework for building a compelling blue ocean strategy. So here this strategy canvas serves both the purposes. It captures the current state of play in the known market space, which allows the firm to understand where the competition is currently investing or the factors in industry currently competes on which type of products, the service, the delivery, and what customers receive from the existing competitive offerings in the market. Now, to set up a company on a strong, profitable uh, growth trajectory among the conditions of competition, the major hurdle is to benchmark the competitors and try to innovate and come out of the competition part. Now, the companies think of opting such type of strategies where they necessarily have to focus on their core competencies. Maybe we can take the research as one of the aspects, or maybe innovation, which is supported by the research here, so that the company thinks of featuring a particular product or the service in the industry. So here, when the companies think of shifting their strategic focus from competitors to themselves and with other alternatives, then only the companies think of having the strategic canvas. Now, when the companies think of having both the value and the low cost, they should come out of the benchmarking competitors in the existing field and choose something between the differentiation and cost leadership. The focus should shift from the current competition towards more value driven aspects by giving up the conventional strategic in terms of competition. Now here the companies take into account the four actions framework. Now to construct the buyer value elements, to develop a new value curve, to inculcate new value systems in the organization. When the company enters into the blue ocean strategy, four actions framework is considered. First one is to have a trade-off, break the trade-off between the differentiation and the low cost and create a new value curve. Now it is based upon a business model which includes the four actions framework. The first is which factors should be reduced well below the industry standard. So here, when there is competition and when there are various companies operating in the competition, the companies thinks of having many attributes on an average level, usually on the average level. So when the company comes into this category of blue ocean strategy, here the emphasis is on reduction of which of the factors which are being benchmarked in this competitive market. That is the one aspect which has to be addressed by the company. Similarly, which factors should be created in the industry that has never been offered by any of the companies. So something innovative, something new, something uh, a thought of out of the box has to become uh, thought of by the companies when they have to add the value curve or the value addition. Similarly, which factors should be raised well above the industry standard benchmark? Even that is a question here. That many of the competitors they are offering certain standardized features. So here, what particular factor has to be considered and it should be raised well above the industry standard? Is again question that has to be answered terms. Again, as far as the next aspect is considered, the last post aspect, which factors should be eliminated or washed off from the existing ones where the industry takes for granted should be eliminated. So this when the company thinks of answering these four questions, what has to be reduced, what has to be created, which thing has to be raised and which thing has to be eliminated from the existing core or the pool of the industries, then a canvas has is created with the help of these four action frameworks. Now, often those factors are taken for granted, even though they no longer have value or may distract from the value. Sometimes there is fundamental change in the buyer's value, but the companies that are focused on benchmarking one another, they do not act, or even they don't understand the change. They do not perceive the change. Now here Again, the question of whether the products or services have been over designed uh, in this rat's race of competition has to be thought of. That whether really customer thinks the product of value to themselves, whether it has some utility basically, or just to enhance the quality, to enhance the offering, the value is attached to the product. So these are the 4 action frameworks which the company has to think upon when the company applies the 4 actions framework to the strategic canvas of an industry, then it pushes the organization into a different business model where it sets the company aloof from the competitors or apart from the competitors, and it helps it to create its own space, and hence the company will move from the red ocean strategies and the journey towards blue ocean strategy begins. Now, any doubts here? Hello. Now, today we will stop here. We will continue in the next session. Okay.